Hey, welcome back, Focus fam. In this latest video, we're going to do a good old-fashioned wide-angle lens showdown. We're going to compare 4 different lenses that are wide-angle lenses on the market right now and find out which one is the best one for you guys to buy this year. So the 4 lenses that we have today in the showdown, going from right to left, the first one is the Nikon 14 to 24 millimeter f2.8 lens. The next one being the Sigma 14 to 24 2.8 lens. We have the Tamron 15 to 30 millimeter f2.8 lens. And last but not least, we have the Tokina 16 to 28 millimeter f2.8 lens. So these 4 lenses are all wide angle lenses that have a maximum aperture of f2.8. So we're gonna do a couple tests to figure out which one is the best one. We're gonna go over a couple different aspects. The first one is the focal range of the lens, the construction of the lens, which features the weight, the weather sealing, the glass, and the coating on the lens, the bokeh that you get from the lens at its maximum aperture, the AF speed of the lens, last but not least, the cost of the lens. So first thing we're gonna look at is the lens itself. So if you look at these 4 lenses, as you can see, the Nikon Sigma and Tamron all come with cases, and the Tokina one does not come with a case. As you look, you see the Nikon one is a pretty sturdy case. It's not too big. This can probably fit in your bag. The Sigma case is pretty boxy and wide. You probably couldn't bring this with you every time you go out. And the Tamron one is this pretty cheap bag here that you just pretty much stuff your lens in to protect it from any markings or damaging. And the Tokina one has none at all. So I'm going to take each of these lenses out of the case so we can see what it looks like individually. So the Nikon lens here, there's a nice little zip. So this is how it comes. I haven't taken this out yet. I've taken the lens out, but I haven't thrown away the stuff yet. So the first lens we have here is the Nikon 14 to 24 millimeter lens. Next we have the Sigma 14 to 24 millimeter lens. Oops, let's not drop that. So we have that lens here. Next one we have is the Tamron 15 to 30 millimeter lens. I have that here. Move these out of the way. And last but not least, the Tokina. So these are the 4 lenses that we're going to be comparing today. The one thing that I can say about all these lenses, they're all wide angle lenses at a maximum aperture of f2.8, which makes them really good for low light photography. The one other thing that makes these lenses all very similar is they all have 9 rounded aperture blades, and as well as they all have built-in lens hoods in the lens. Because these lenses are so wide, they have bulbous front elements, making them pretty round, which makes them all have built-in lens hoods that you cannot take off the lens. When it comes to the construction of the actual lens, it looks like each of these lenses are all metal, besides the Tokina one, which is like a plastic feel to it on the lens. The next thing that I noticed about the lens, the only lens that has vibration compensation is the Tamron lens. Each of these do not have vibration compensation in the camera or image stabilization, but on the Tamron lens, you do have a VC switch on and off, which would make this lens pretty good for video. Next thing that we're gonna look at is the weight of the 4 lenses. So from left to right, the Tokina lens weighs 950 grams. The Tamron lens weighs 1,110 grams. The Sigma lens weighs 1,151 grams, and the Nikon lens weighs 1,000 grams, meaning that the Tokina lens is the lighter of the bunch, and the Sigma one is the heavier one of the bunch. And if you look at the 4 lenses, it looks like the Tokina one is the slimmest lens of the bunch as well. It looks like it goes from Tokina to Nikon to Tamron to Sigma as far as the size and actual of the lens goes. And I also noticed that each 4 lenses do have a distance scale on them, which makes them really good. So first thing we're gonna go into is the Nikon lens. So the Nikon 14 to 24 millimeter lens is a part of the Nikkor series. It is a wide angle zoom lens with a maximum aperture of f2.8. It uses a silent wave motor AF system and has a minimum focusing distance of 11.02 inches. It does not have vibration compensation built into the lens. On the lens, the only switch you have on here is the manual autofocus override switch and the manual focus switch. The next thing we have on the lens is the actual lens hood. So if you take the top off of it, the lens hood is built in. This lens is actually made up of 14 elements in 11 groups. 3 of them are spherical elements and 2 of them are ED elements, and also has 9 rounded aperture blades. It does have weather sealing in the lens. It has a nanocrystal super integrated coating on the front element. This does not have any filter thread, so you'd have to have a filter thread that goes over the entire front element of the lens to make it usable with any filters. So this comes at a price range of $1,896.95 for this lens. So we're gonna take a look at the next lens in the lineup, which is the Sigma 14 to 24 millimeter lens. This is a part of the Sigma Art Series lens. It is also a wide angle zoom lens with a maximum aperture of f2.8. It has a hypersonic motor focusing system with a minimum focusing distance of 10.24 inches. It does also not have vibration compensation in the lens. It does also have a built-in lens hood. So when I zoom in and out, it does the same thing as a Nikon. The front element moves in and out as I zoom from 14 to 24 millimeter. The lens is constructed of 17 elements in 11 groups. 3 of them are FLD elements, 3 of them are SLD elements, and another 3 of them are spherical elements. It does have 9 rounded aperture blades. It also does have weather sealing along the lens. It does not have a built-in filter thread, so you also would have to get something that goes onto the top of the lens to be able to use it for filters. And it weighs about a weight of 1,151 grams. It's pretty heavy compared to the rest of the lenses, and comes at a price of $1,299. So the Sigma lens does come in the Nikon F, the Canon EF mount, and also the Sigma SA mount lens. If you are a Sony user, you can buy an MC11 Sigma adapter and adapt the lens to your Sony camera. The great thing about Sigma lenses is that you can also use a USB dock for the lens to update it for any future firmware updates with the lens, and that usually is important for newer cameras. The next lens that we have here is the Tamron 15 to 30 millimeter lens, which is part of the new Canon SP series. It is also a wide angle zoom lens with a maximum aperture of f2.8. It uses an ultrasonic silent drive motor for quick and silent autofocus and has a minimum focusing distance of 11 inches. It has vibration compensation for up to 4.5 stops in the lens. You can turn that on and off by the switch on the lens. It also has a built-in lens hood on the lens, so when you zoom in and out, you do see the front element move in and out on the lens. It is constructed of 18 elements in 13 groups. 3 of them are LD elements and 3 of them are spherical elements. It also has 9 rounded aperture blades and weather sealing all along the lens. One thing to note with the Tamron lens, this lens is also updatable with the Tamron USB dock that connects to the lens. One thing I noticed when I was trying to use this out in the wild is that when I connected it to my Nikon Z7, it did not work at all. It was no type of connection. I believe I need to update the lens in order to get it to work. So once I turned it on, I just kept getting this error, please release button again. So if I do it again, it just keeps getting that error. So maybe something that needs to be fixed with a firmware update in the lens. I did some research online and saw that some other people had the same problem. But when I put the same lens on a body like the D810 here, and turned it on, I had no issue at all. It was able to find the actual focal length of the lens. So it actually find the actual f-stop of the lens. So maybe just something that has to deal with the newer Nikon Z system. So one thing to note when you're buying a lens that you would also have to buy the dock separately so you can update the lens once you get it. So if you're buying a Z camera, you have to keep that in mind. It also does not have a filter holder on the lens. You'd also have to buy an adapter here. But for the Canon mount of the lens, it does have a back filter thread. It has a little slot in here so you can slide in filters, which Tamron still hasn't released either. So I'm not sure where you'd get these from. You can probably make them yourself, I suppose. And also this weighs about 1,110 grams and comes to a price range of $1,299, making it the same exact price as the Sigma 14 to 24 millimeter lens. You're just getting a little more of a range with the Tamron. And last but not least, we have the Tokina 16 to 28 millimeter lens. This is a part of the brand new Opera series, which just was released last year. It is also a wide angle zoom lens with a maximum aperture of f2.8. It uses a GMR magnetic AF sensor for quick and fast autofocus, and also has a minimum focusing distance of 11 inches. There is no image stabilization in the lens as well. It also is constructed of an entirely plastic body compared to the other 3. As I zoom in and out, you can also see that the front elements does move in and out with this lens. It is arranged in 15 elements in 13 groups. 3 of them are spherical elements and the other 3 are low dispersion elements. And it also has 9 rounded aperture blades on the lens. It also has weather sealing built into the lens. It also has a multi-coating on the front of the elements of the lens to eliminate any ghosting or flaring. It also does not have a filter thread on the lens, so again, you'd have to have a filter holder that goes over the front element of the lens. It comes at a weight of about 950 grams, making it the lightest of the 4 lenses, and also comes at a price of $699, making it the cheapest of the 4 lenses here. The first test we performed was the autofocus speed. Setting the lens to the closest focusing distance and tapping the shutter button, each lens was snappy and quick, and it was a little too close to call for me. For the second test, we tested the light drop-off and the sharpness of the lenses. The Nikon lens had the least distortion wide open and also the sharpest image corner to corner. The Tokina performed the worst with the images blurred at the corners. We took these lenses down to Hudson Yards to test out the image quality, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed with the way each lens performed. So this thing is essentially just a big piece of metal shaped as a beehive. We're going to make our way up to the top. The first lens I'm going to be using is the OG Nikon 14 to 24 millimeter lens. Just a lot of stairs. I'm like, let's go. So, some 30-something sets of stairs later, we're finally close to the top. Not even there yet. Whether you're a nature photographer who makes their coin from beautiful wide-angle shots, or you're just someone who enjoys going wide occasionally, each of these lenses are great options for creating amazing images. If you have the extra cash and want the quality, get the Nikon. If you're on a budget, get the Tokina. And if you're somewhere in between, try the Sigma or Tamron. You won't be disappointed for the price and quality these lenses produce. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video, please like and leave a comment on what type of lens showdowns you want to see next.